Hi, today I want to talk with you about what cracks first. I want to start with a question that sounds simple, but it isn't. Why do some rolls crack quickly and others seem to run forever, no matter what you do? Because they don't crack all at the same time. Some identities collapse as soon as the conditions that built them change. Others run for decades, past the point where they're still accurate. And some, the deepest ones, the ones you don't even recognise as roles, and maybe the most personal ones, you may not crack in a lifetime. Understanding which type you're dealing with changes everything about what the practice needs to do. The first type, the roles that crack fast. These are the identities most dependent on a specific context that no longer exists. The professional version of you that was built for an organisation you've left. The capable one in a relationship that has been reorganised. The reliable presence in a family system that no longer requires that particular performance. Spinoza tells us that nothing can be destroyed except by an external cause. So what he means for identity is this, that the role persists as long as the conditions persist, and it begins to fail when the conditions change. So when you think about things like an addiction, that's a useful thing to consider, because the crack isn't chosen, selected, or preferred. You didn't decide to leave that role. The scaffolding withdrew, and the role started to fail. The machine keeps running it, because the machine doesn't stop just because the context has gone, but it meets increasing resistance. Nothing confirms it the way it used to. The return diminishes, the cost stays the same, and eventually a crack appears. The second type holds much longer. These are the identities so deeply fused with the person's sense of existing at all that losing them doesn't feel like losing a role. It feels like dying. Examples of this are parents when the children leave the nest, a relationship that dies, or retirement. The good person, the one who doesn't cause trouble, the one whose value is demonstrated entirely through usefulness to others, these were built early enough and confirmed consistently enough that they don't register as programs. They register as a self, just as you do within your relationships. They crack from fatigue, not from external change. Slowly, over years sometimes, the cost of running the maintenance rises past what the machine can sustain, until one day, not dramatically, just quietly, the roll fails to assemble the way it usually does, and in that gap, something true is briefly visible. The third type is the one most of you listening will recognise. It's the role you've already named, the one you can see running, the one we've been talking about all week. And here's what I want to say about that one specifically. The watching, even when it doesn't produce change, is doing something structural. When the observer is present as the machine runs the program, the role's claim to be the self begins to loosen. Not its force, but its invisibility. The distinction between the observer and the program becomes slightly more available each time. That distinction is, in Spinoza's terms, an adequate idea forming, not a dissolution, a loosening. So what I want to get to now is what the practice actually does with each of these, because the three types require three different responses, and using the wrong one is how people get stuck. So that's in the paid section, along with the specific body-based observation for the deep roles, and what to do with the gap before the machine closes it. If you're interested in this and not yet a subscriber, the link is below. It's $5 a month, and Wednesday is when I often do the practices.